Thank you, Merry Christmas, and welcome to the Arrow Panel episode Sweet 16. I'm one of your hosts, Buzzard, aka James McGarren.
I'm Roger Clark, at Roger Clark on Twitter.
I'm Dalton Runberg, aka Blue Chows.
And Jeff Loy, Funga.
It's not even December yet.
It's not December yet, but it's...
Christmas came early.
Christmas came early for DDR players.
Santa Claus dropped a little goodie for all us good DDR players.
Plus, I don't know if you guys know, but Japanese people are absolutely mental about Christmas. So anything to do to celebrate Christmas and KFC and just bringing the whole family together.
No, he said KFC, not KAC.
Oh, I meant KFC.
No, right. But like that is people may not know that on Christmas Day in Japan, you go to KFC. Like KFC did this brilliant marketing campaign in the 90s.
Konami fried chicken, right?
Yes. Well, they basically just united the ideas of Christmas and KFC and fried chicken.
Amazing.
It's great. It's consumerism at its finest. And I'm all about weird consumerist futures.
And we're not joking here. This is actually...
like, the catering is like, you can't, like, if you don't do it months in advance, you don't get fried chicken. And then there's lines out the door on the day of. It's nuts. Anyway, so I just wanted to, like, if in case people were like he said KFC when he meant KAC, like, no.
No, I'm talking KFC.
Yeah. So go down to your local KFC on Christmas Day, and they'll probably be closed, because you live in America, not Japan.
Hey, we may have international listeners.
We may.
That's true, yeah. If you're a Japanese listener, you should tell us. It'd be interesting to know that. We just came back from break. We took a break last week, because it was Thanksgiving. Did anybody play DDR last week?
I played in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
I went to Hawaii for the Thanksgiving week and got to meet up with a bunch of the Hawaii players, and everyone there was really nice. Got to meet up with Amin and Dr. Neil, and everybody was, like I said, they're really nice people, and seems like there's some good scores on their machine. I was glad to be able to take a few of those. And, yeah, it seems like one of those things that I always heard about growing up with DDR, and like when I first started playing, Hawaii was mentioned all the time as having a thriving community because they're so close to Asia, and that was the site or the setting for the webcomic, the 10K Commotion back in the day was like a webcomic about a fictional DDR tournament that had a $10,000 prize, and it was really cool.
I've never even heard of this.
Yeah, you should check it out. If anyone is listening and hasn't seen it, just search 10K, like the number 10K Commotion.
We'll tweet about it from the SF Vault, if we remember.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool comic.
Sweet.
That's cool. So, did you meet any Japanese players there? Or is it all...
No Japanese players, although I did see a bunch of people tweeting in Japanese about going to Dave & Buster's to play.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. A lot of Japanese people there for vacation.
Yeah.
Not very many Americans there on vacation, so I heard a lot of people talking about Japanese stuff. So
That's nice.
Worlds collide.
There is a Lawson and a Kokoichi.
Yeah, that's like...
I know. This is like...
Sounds like heaven.
This is the perfect DDR vacation.
Yeah.
Clearly the only reason you went.
Right.
Basically, halfway to Japan, and you get to play DDR a bunch.
And then eat cocoa later.
And eat cocoa later.
And
yeah.
before. And all the time.
So I heard that, like, Hawaiian people, in general, the culture is that people move slow, and they're much more deliberate and friendly. Do you find that people play DDR like that, too? Are they playing at 1x?
Well, I saw people who were playing, and they were playing pretty much like we do. So, speed mods out the wazoo, and, foot speed. So maybe the general population is on a more chill level than the DDR players who are hopped up on energy drinks.
Yeah, I think that's just always true.
Yeah.
You get lots of cool energy drinks at Lawson.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy the having the Japanese kombini where you see like all the like Pocari Sweat and Calpico, and then right next to it's like Monster Ultra Zero.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, it sounds like a dream.
That's the dream.
Although I like the... in Japan, they have those little tiny energy drinks, the Oronamine and the vitamin... They're like vitamin shots.
Where it's like impossible to know what's inside them, and you just have to...
Yeah, and it tastes like very concentrated.
Yeah.
Concentrated energy. It's like a battery.
I may die, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
You get a couple good scores, it's all worth it.
Yeah.
Bury me with my MFCs, please.
All right, so in other news, there's a software update last week, right? Or this week?
This is today.
It was
today.
today.
I guess,
It was
yeah.
today.
So yeah, there's a couple of minor UI updates, I guess. So now you can see people's e-amusement names inside of the gameplay screen and the results screen.
It's really convenient.
That's very good for videos. I think that they kind of did the same thing like when they added the difficulty thing above the score is like because a lot of people are taking videos and stuff, and it's nice to know like just to put a stamp on it.
Yeah, they kind of combined it because it used to have like expert and then the difficulty were like sort of separate graphic things.
Didn't it say like expert and then level 15?
Yeah,
now it just says like expert 15.
Expert 15 and then where the level 15 was before or whatever, now it has your name there.
Oh, I see.
So it doesn't actually really take up any more space than the last update.
A few more pixels, but it's fine.
Yeah.
I really like it. I think that's like, it's great to just sort of like, I like getting to the arcade and like peeking, and, like seeing like, who's that? Like, do I know that name? Does that name have some machine records? Yeah. And it's kind of like, you don't want to be hovering while they're like logging and they're typing in their pin and you're just like trying to peek their name before.
Yeah, and then even with the score, like taking a picture of a score, like
that's really nice.
Like, and you can see,
unless you're looking at the high score.
Yeah, for tournaments and stuff, you can see who's on either side.
Even just posting.
Oh wait, I didn't even think about it for tournaments.
B-Man said, it's probably for KAC. The videos during streaming so people can see who's playing. And it's like, of course.
I didn't even like add 2 and 2 together. That's perfect. Yeah, that's really, really
it's
great.
Really good for that. Also, I was just thinking like the other time you would only see it is if they were going through the song selection and you can, but it's like jumping around a lot, so it's kind of hard to see.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be much better.
Now you could put people on blast when you post pictures of your score and their less good scores next to it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I'm worried about that. That happens to me all the time.
Getting put on blast.
I play with these guys. So. So that's a nice update. What else? Was there anything else?
And we mentioned it at the top of the show, but Thank You Merry Christmas is back.
Thank You Merry Christmas back. And there's another new song.
Well, we should explain about Thank You Merry Christmas.
Yeah, actually.
Not everybody may know.
You have a personal story because you said that you weren't able to PFC that last time you were in Japan.
MFC.
No. So my story was that Roger was going to Japan in like December of 2015?
Probably one of those.
I think it was last year.
No, because I was feeling very jealous because I saw that like there's a new song called Thank You Merry Christmas coming out in DDR 2014, and it's only available for like 2 weeks, like right around Christmas, and I just wasn't going to Japan, and then it was going to be gone, and I was like, dude, like I'm never going to be able to PFC that. And it's just like my inner, it's like The Beautiful Life on Supernova all over again, like just having everything PFC'd except one thing. It's like my nightmare scenario. And then the next year, they sort of like, they brought it back, and that sort of has set the trend that every year around Christmas time, they bring back Thank You Merry Christmas. And so I'm now fine. Last year I MFC'd it on Expert and PFC'd it on Double, so I'm not good enough to MFC it on Double.
I mean, you are, but...
No, I'm not. My MA really takes a hit on Double.
It's also a very fucked up chart. It's like, it's not... It doesn't seem like they were really serious about it. It's just kind of like
it's red and green.
That's the best part is that it's a 220 BPM song like in swing rhythm. So if you play it on note, they're all red and green arrows.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
It's so good. I mean, I don't know if
it's probably a coincidence. I think.
No way.
Well, wait. So the thing that might make a coincidence is that it's in every other music game. Like,
also you have to be playing note because if you're playing,
everybody plays on note.
Yeah, I mean. I want to believe. It's like the Christmas... It's like the Santa Claus, like... I just want to believe that it's true.
I want to believe it.
So, if you're good for Christmas, Soda Fujimori and DJ Yoshitaka are going to drop little samples in your stocking. So, that's good. Anyway, we don't know when it's going to get taken away. They actually didn't even announce that it was like going to return to music games.
Yeah, I was just at the arcade and I played the other new song, but I didn't even know Thank You Merry Christmas was back.
Yeah. I think it'll probably disappear on New Year's.
Yeah, they usually do it for like 3 weeks. It's been like a weird cadence every year that hasn't been consistent. It's been 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So maybe they're just starting it early to make sure that everyone has the chance to play it. So get in your games with Thank You Merry Christmas before it goes away. And if you're watching this or listening to this after it goes away, well, snooze, you lose.
Wait for next year.
You blew it.
You blew it.
Yeah. So what was the other song? It's a Japanese song, right?
Yeah, it's called Be a Hero. And you can only access the song if you register for the KAC tournament.
Oh.
Which, KAC registration and announcement and everything just happened. That's the big news.
That's the big news.
So last night, like 3 a.m, there was the Banama Hoso, which is like the Konami live stream where they like give announcements and
it's the Japanese version of us.
Yeah,
except
maybe.
they're official.
Except they're official,
and they talk about all rhythm games.
Yes, but for like 5 minutes each or something. So last night was like the KAC reveal thing, the 7th KAC, which is in 2018, February 9th and 10th. And basically, they gave the rules for all the different games. The one we're going to be talking about is DDR, because this is mostly a dance game podcast thing. And should we go over the rules of what... how it works?
Just in case anybody doesn't know, you want to talk about KAC?
Oh, sure, yeah. So, KAC is the Konami Arcade Championship. It's a yearly competition across tons of music games that Konami, and actually more than that, they do Mahjong, Fight Club, and other things. But basically, it's like Konami's like yearly tournament, a series. It's pretty quick. It's not my favorite tournament that I've ever been to, but it's wonderful. And
so yeah, it's a big show. It happens at the Japanese Arcade Entertainment Expo in Japan.
Yep, Tokyo, Japan.
And you went last year.
I did.
And also Chris
and Roger,
Kaze573 and Roger and Paul.
I was just there.
Yeah, you can just go. You don't have to qualify.
And if you're listening, go.
Yeah, I literally just applied for my passport. I've never been out of the U.S.
So it's actually gonna be lit.
Yes, there's gonna be a lot of people going.
There's 2 other spectators in this room, my brother and Eric Blumenfeld, and we're all going, and it's gonna be so great. You can meet us up at Coco Ichibanya.
You hit us up. We're gonna take over each Coco Ichibanya that we go to. It's just gonna be 30 gaijins just storming in and be like, "Can I get the chicken katsu curry, please?"
Actually,
Yonhyaku.
You know what might be fun?
Itadakimasu.
It would be fun to actually to do like an SF Evolved meetup, and I would love to do it at the Kawasaki warehouse.
We can even do the podcast from Japan.
My goodness, the possibilities are endless, and we're absolutely doing that.
Yeah. Or I guess there's also the other arcade, Tokyo Leisureland 2.
No, that gets. I think Kawasaki
like
Warehouse
8 million
is just
decibels in there.
Yeah, it's also Kawasaki Warehouse is such a good experience that I think like we should totally do that. Okay.
Also kind of famous because that's where the first 16 MFC happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that so?
Do you know who was that again that did that?
I don't know, Roger. Do you know?
Just look it up on YouTube.
I have to see.
Nageki no Ki MFC. Look it up. Anyway, that was at the Kawasaki Warehouse, and I think it's a great excuse to force everybody to take the train ride to Kawasaki and see this really awesome arcade.
Yeah,
which is one of my favorite places on Earth.
It's me too.
So. But the tournament itself is sort of more of an exhibition rather than like a tournament.
Yeah, it's definitely not a serious tournament. It's not long, as you said.
They basically have to run like 12 tournaments in
a day,
2 days, but like streaming from like 3 o'clock to 4:30 or something, and it's really annoying. But they do have a lot of production value on it. It was a blast to have a huge crowd behind me while I was playing DDR last year. It was crazy.
So we should talk about entering into it because that part is fun too. Because there's kind of like a global scoreboard for everybody that's competing for the finals, and that's something that everybody can compete with. And
yeah, it's a fun way to see how you rank up with others. It's a little bit cumbersome to register and everything because
the site's all in Japanese.
Yeah, you have to register if you do want to qualify, and everyone should. If you're listening, you should just play the songs. It's going to be a good time. You do have to have a U.S. account. A lot of people have made Japanese accounts because Japanese accounts are how you get Pacelli features like turning on fast and slow. So there's a little bit of legwork to transfer your card and all your data over to a U.S. region so that you show up in the right spot. But rest assured, you keep all of your scores and lamps and
Pacelli
features themselves. So I think what we're going to do on the SF Evolved YouTube channel, we're going to do a little bit of like a tutorial screencast type thing. We're going to walk you through the process. I'm going to have to do it. I have a Japanese account again, so I'm going to have to transfer to US, and then eventually when KSC is over, I'm going to switch it back. So we can basically walk through the process and show you guys how it's done. So you can compete and share your scores and everything. So
yeah, we'll try to do that soonish, just because I guess it's gonna happen soon.
Yeah. So qualifying is basically started already.
Yeah, basically. So basically, what happens is after you register, there's a special folder that shows up when you go to play that contains the 3 songs of set A. So last year they actually released 2 sets of songs. There were set A and set B. Right now, they've only released set A, and then set B will be released a little bit later.
Yeah.
It seems the qualifying period for both ends January 9th. That's Japan time, though, so...
Might be the 8th.
The 8th here.
Yeah, it was weird. It ended. I don't know. Last year it ended at like a weird time in Japan. It ended up being like past midnight. Like it ended in the so we did have all of that day. I don't know. We'll have to
do the conversion.
Yeah,
time conversions.
It's kind of silly, but yeah, just do your qualifying way before the 9th. That way you don't.
So, but you have to play those 3 songs all in one set, and it takes your cumulative EX score, which I don't know if we've explained before, but it's different than normal scoring. Doesn't quite punish you for misses and stuff as much.
And you can see your EX score in the score or the results screen. It's underneath all of the perfect, great.
Well, now actually for KAC, if you are in that folder, I think it shows up. It takes the place.
Oh, it does. Okay.
It's just like if you play on event mode.
Turn it on EX score. Turn the machine on EX score.
Exactly.
Cool.
So it's kind of nice. And then so it's going to sum up the scores, and then if that score that you got was better than what the server says, then it just replaces it. So you can do it as many times as you want. You can play the songs on any difficulty you want, so you don't have to be able to pass 18s to qualify. Well, you may not qualify for the World Championship, but you can definitely get your name on the board. Mm-hmm. But yeah, songs with more EX, or like charts within a song that have more EX score, which tends to be higher difficulty songs, will be worth more points because of this cumulative EX system.
Yeah. So the songs this year are...
Well, should we first talk about the the format for how that works?
Yeah, let's talk about the format first.
Sure.
And then we'll talk about how to qualify.
Because this... Actually, you know what?
Yeah,
songs.
We're already talking about songs.
I guess we're already talking about
Yeah. And then, because I think the format is what's going to take a lot of our discussion. You're right.
That's the main chunk of the discussion.
Yeah. Okay, so what are the songs, Dalton? What's the first song?
Possession.
Okay.
Which
pretty well known. It's a staple song.
Yeah, but I think everybody just plays the 17, the Expert 17, not the Challenge 18.
Yeah.
But if you want more EX, I mean, I guess it depends on your skill level.
Yeah,
but
what do you think the EX difference would be if
it's 135 total?
It's
or is it more
165, something like that? 175?
Difference. So, I mean, It really depends on your skill level. Like, if
I'm, like, really bad at the 18, but okay at the 17, should I play the 17 or should I play the 18?
For you should probably play the 18.
So the problem, like, the way someone phrased it, it's kind of, like, weird until you think about... Like, you should almost certainly play the 18 if you can, because the way you think about it, if you get, like, 100 perfects and, like, 20 greats and a couple misses or something, or, like, many misses, that is still better than MFCing the expert chart.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is like, when you put it that way, it's like, holy shit, like...
That's a good way to put it.
So, because like every note that doesn't exist in the expert chart is like you getting a miss in the expert chart. Okay. Which is just like really punishing. So
yeah, it's
even if you mash through the runs, like unless you like get so tired that you can only get greats and misses, then you should play the challenge.
You like can't, if you can't pass the 18, like the 17 is
this really underscores the difference between regular score and EX score.
Yeah.
So what's the other 2 songs?
So we'll get to the second song last, but
they're in any order.
You can play them in any order. Yeah. But Rising Firehawk, which is interesting because it was an extra exclusive.
Yeah.
And recently had a Challenge 17 chart added.
We all think is actually the easiest 17.
Well, I think
one of them.
I think it was. I don't know. It's on the lower end.
Definitely.
But the new song that was just introduced for this purpose, Be a Hero, is also in the qualifier set, and I think that's actually now the easiest 17.
Oh, really?
I just played it at Dave & Buster's. I played it twice. First time, I feel like I white comboed it for like maybe 200 steps or so, and like first time playing a song, maybe that shouldn't happen if it's a 17. But second time I played it, I got like 4 greats, full combo, and I feel like it really just didn't take much out of me to do it. So I think it's probably going to be an auto PFC for people who are like really high, like people on Jeff's level and stuff like that. But I think it's nice that there's a song at that level for people who aren't super good at 17s to like kind of get into the 17 range. And also last year there were, like, for instance, there was Astro Gazer in the qualifier set, and that was pretty easy. So it allowed people to kind of like get in there and show off, even if they weren't hella good.
Yeah.
So I think this song is like, it's harder than Astro Gazer was, but it's still on that same sort of...
It's like, it's 190 BPM, just has it's not even like technical really. Like there's like 2 crossovers maybe, but
I don't think there's any crossover.
No, there are a few that you don't have to actually cross over.
Yeah, they're not like 16th note crossovers or anything. But and there's some jumps. It's just really long. There's a lot of steps, but it's not like actually that hard. It looks like.
Yeah, I was saying earlier. I think that the hallmark of 17s to me is that at some point in the song, near the end, you start thinking, isn't this over yet? And that happened to me while I was playing. I was like, man, I'm like 75% of the way through, and I'm like, it just keeps going.
That's how you know it's 17.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Rising Firehawk.
Yeah, that's the same way.
Yeah, a couple others. Yeah, so should be an interesting set. What do you think as a potential top ranker, Jeff?
I think the spread is going to be less apparent this year. So Group A last year had May in it, and Group B last year had Delta Max in it. And both of those songs, I think, like Astrogazer, whatever, like, you know, you could be pretty consistent at Astrogazer before the challenge was out, so I'm talking just the expert. Like even Dopamine, like for good players, it's like hard to mess that up. But Delta Max and May, for me at least, are both like just shrug emoji, like whatever is gonna happen. Like I may get 5. I got 5 perfects on Delta Max, and sometimes I get 40 on Delta Max. And May, sometimes I can combo the crossovers, and sometimes I get 6 misses. I had a score. I got 10 perfects, 1 good, and 5 misses. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, this song is so hard.
So do you think Possession will kind of be like that it has a couple really hard parts in it, so
out of this set.
So that people, because last year, like, Chris basically came up with a technique for doing May where he would like intentionally get a miss, but it would save him a couple perfects potentially. To increase his, optimize the best EX score.
Yeah.
So I wonder if people will sort of develop a strategy similar to that for Possession Challenge.
I don't think that people are bad enough at Possession Challenge for that to be necessary. May is so unique in that it's the fastest song to have what we call Scoobies, the really fast
sideways crossovers,
basically. So, like techniques like that, like for Chris especially. Like he's not good at those. I'm not particularly good at them either. And so basically what I'm getting at is there were components of certain songs in the last 2 sets of KSC that were very hard for top players. And this set overall looks easy for top players.
More consistent at least.
And definitely more consistent. Yeah. Like Possession, you might get it like I can play Possession Challenge. I may get in the teens of perfects, and maybe like I usually get like a great and a miss because I'm bad. But like in Rising Firehawk, like maybe I'll miss a step jump in one of my runs, but it's pretty slow. And Be a Hero, I haven't played it yet, but it looks not that bad. So it just feels like that will be more par for the course of like, Possession, like maybe I'll PFC it, maybe I'll get a great or good or a miss or something, but overall okay. Whereas like it felt like I started my sets with Delta Max and May, because if I didn't have a good run of those songs, then I wasn't even going to bother playing the other 2 because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to beat my best. So
does this mean that like the top ranking players are going to be playing those songs a lot more this time or less?
I think it's going to be. Well, I honestly, it's kind of hard to predict. So this is kind of like tying into to how the format works, which I guess I'll briefly mention now that like Chris is already invited as the previous world champion. He automatically gets an invite, so he doesn't even have to qualify. And last year, what happened was there was a second seed from North America that I took. There was also a wild card seed that could have gone to any region. It was just for the highest 3rd place seed. And that went to Hudson, Kaze573. And so there were 3 Americans representing the US at KSC last year. This year, they're basically taking one. They're taking one player from the US, from Asia, and from Korea. So those 3 separate regions. and then there's like up to 14 Japanese players that get to be a part of KAC as well.
How does that work? Because I heard people saying 14 when I first woke up this morning, and that seemed really weird to me. And then later on in the day, people said 2 to 4. And I don't know where this number comes from.
The area, the regions.
So here's how it works. So this is coming right off the Banama stream from last night. So the first round is like a qualifying period, right? They're taking of the qualifying players, they're taking 7 from Eastern Tokyo. Eastern Japan. 7 from Western Japan. 1 from Asia. 1 from Korea, and 1 from the US. Then, of those, the people that are the Asia, Korea, and US single participants automatically go to the final round. Like the Egoism 440 challenge round, like that, the final round. The 7 players from Eastern Japan and Western Japan will have their own like semi-final round at KAC to qualify. It says 1 or 2 people. I don't know how they're going to determine that.
Yeah.
But 1 or 2 people from each of those groups will go on to the very, very finals.
Is it confirmed that that's actually going to take place at KAC?
It says like Kessho Roundo, and that's... Oh, no, I guess not.
Because some people were like speculating that it might take place like, a week before or something.
Yeah, it could, yeah. Actually, yeah, so it says like... the final round, and there's like a big pink box that encompasses the Japanese players, like duking it, the 7 in each group, duking it out for 1 or 2, and then every arrow points to another box, which is inside the pink box, that says Kessho Taikai, like the final tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of unclear.
Yeah.
What, like, because the final tournament box is inside the final round box. So maybe that means that it's all happening at KAC, but yeah, it's confusing.
At the if it happens before or during, at the very least, I guess they're going to be having their own time. It's they
might stream it beforehand or something. It's got to be for KAC. They're just going to bring everyone there, I think.
Sure.
And coordinate it, because I think they want that publicity. This is one of the reasons I think they're doing the format this way.
Yeah, so
they want to hype it up for Japanese players.
Yeah, basically, when this news came out this morning, a lot of people in the US particularly were quite upset about it because it basically just leaves one spot.
We thought the opposite was going to happen.
Yeah,
we thought more regions were going to have more representation at KAC.
Yeah, but
instead the opposite happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
some people have speculated that they're kind of salty that America won last year, and now they're trying to, get more Japanese,
Konami
representation
themselves
there.
Secretly has been training a Japanese person to be as good as Chris. They sit him in front of the TV and make them watch Chris's videos. Do that!
So my take on this is that it's they're noticing that DDR is declining in popularity in Japan. I think that's like pretty known regardless. There's a lot of past players who have since fallen out of play. I don't think they have enough new players that are interested in the game competing with stuff like Them and Mai, which is like where music gamers, like if you're a new music gamer, that's the game that you play now. So I think it's an interesting move to say, okay, like we're going to take 14 Japanese players, like you get to be at KAC. And I think that will actually, because there's so many spots, and it's sort of split into like the Eastern and Western thing, which maybe that's a cool narrative. They're going to like encourage these players who may not have otherwise like come out and play. It's like, oh, I'm not going to get the top like one of 2 spots in Japan. Instead, if you maybe are one of 14, like you get a cool trip to KAC. You get to play on the world stage. That's pretty cool. So I think they're trying to garner interest that way. They know that Americans are interested, and frankly, I think with this like power move, they know that like they couldn't actually have any more spots without it taking up too much time. So I think they're really doubling down on like, let's try to see what we can do to make Japan really interested in this again.
It just seems like it wouldn't have that much of a lasting effect. Like it'll get Japanese people to play a little bit more around this time, but then after that, like nobody's going to care again.
Well,
it's we don't know that,
because like what happened last year with us and Ace, I feel like KSC was really good for us. It made everyone motivated to play, and
the game was still like relatively new for us.
That's true, but would people have been as hype as they were had we not had KSC?
I think the lasting impression is this is a competitive game. Like that, period. It doesn't matter that there is a competition at the beginning of the year that everybody watches, but it's like, it's just that everybody has the impression it's like, this can be competitive. And like, everybody remembers how they competed too.
Yeah.
And people remember EX score, they remember the qualifiers that they played.
Yeah.
And
I think this is an interesting move. I think Americans are rightfully upset. Like, this isn't, I'm hopeful that Konami can, reinvigorate interest in Japan. Like, that's on them though. But like, taking it a little bit away from
doing
us.
Doing it at expense of the US, basically, which, like, and they've made the investment here, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to see that be taken away from last year, where we had, essentially we have as much potential representation, aside from the wild card, like, there were 2 slots last year, guaranteed for US. There's 2 slots guaranteed for the US, but, like, it's just weird that, like, it's Chris is automatically taking one of those spots.
Yeah.
And so it just, and without the wild card, like, the wild card was really the competitive thing for people last year.
At least in America.
At least, yeah, between Paul and Hudson. And that's just, like, I don't think it's going to be as hyped this year. Like,
it may. What I was kind of getting at with, which led us to this conversation, was that I don't know who will be on top. Like, I think because it's so contentious for one spot now, it may be the case that people really turn up for this, because, like, it is pretty much do or die, and there's no, like, question marks about, like, who gets the wild card and whatever. Like, it's just like, you better have the best score in America or you're not going.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only, so the way the qualifying works right now, they're starting the qualifiers for Group A, and that's going to continue, it looks like, all the way to the 9th of January. They're starting Group B on, like, the 22nd of December. So we're, 3-ish weeks out from that, 3.5. So, basically, that will, like, we don't actually know what those songs are yet. That hasn't been determined. So, depending on what those songs are, that could change everything.
Yeah.
It could just be that, like, now it's like, this is the easy set, and now we're going to have the crossover set.
This certainly seems like it's the easy set.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I
Not
think...
that anyone...
It's I think for top tier people, it's the easy set, but for sort of more mid-range players like Roger and myself and James,
it's going to push us
like,
to work harder.
I feel like it's pretty stamina intensive.
Totally.
Like, between Possession and and
I've played Possession Challenge maybe twice.
Yeah,
so.
Me too. Like, and Rising Firehawk are both, like, pretty stamina intensive songs, and then the new one's pretty long, has a lot of steps.
Yeah, so they're pushing us, which is interesting, I think.
Yeah, both sets last year had technical elements, very technical elements, as Jeff was saying. This set seems more sort of straightforward, like, pushing for that the egoism 440 kind of thing.
And I think what Jeff was saying about how, people might show up for this, they might, like, really go hard. With this particular set, I think enables that to a degree that maybe a set with May is not going to do. Because, you have people, like, if you take a look at Be a Hero and Rising Firehawk, they're both pretty easy songs, and I mean, I'm confident that I'm going to PFC them with pretty good scores by the end of the qualifier period. But, like, people like Jeff and Paul, for instance, like,
do you think
it's going to be like single-digit perfects on those songs, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And then on possession, that's going to be where people show up. And I've seen Jeff get, like, he was just talking about, it's like Teens. And Paul's really good at that song.
Paul has a PFC, and I actually don't have it PFC'd yet.
Yeah, and Hudson has it, too.
It is interesting. Chris was also speculating, this is complete speculation, like, maybe they would, like, lock in the scores that people get on Group A before starting Group B or something like that.
I don't think, based on the Banama thing, they had, like, a schedule thing, and it was, like, Group A, like, was the full width of the slide, and then, like, Group B started halfway through. So I don't think... I think they would have split it.
Yeah, either way, though, I think this set's very interesting for that reason.
It could be the case. Like, you can imagine the hype around, like, it's pretty straightforward. So me and Paul and maybe little Matt, if he tries to play, because I know he has a machine that's closer to him now, like, a couple players are, like, pretty close to each other. It's like, okay, now go for the really gimmicky stuff. And then, like, now it's less of, like, I can't catch up at all. Like, if you're already near the top, like, getting a new set halfway through might be like, okay, I can do this. And if you have like scores that are really close because the set was designed that way, then it could be like really hype. I'm not saying that it's good that only one. I think easily the strongest region in the world for dance games gets 2 slots, one of which was locked in already for the international tournament. And I'm kind of using air quotes here. I think
actually is this time.
Yeah, I think it's actually a little BS, but whatever. I mean, like, I think about tournaments like League of Legends, where, like, if you're a major region, you get, like, 2 or 3 spots guaranteed at the World Finals. And if you're, like, a wildcard region, then you get 1 slot, and you have to start in the group stages, and, like, it is a, like, huge task to try to beat, like, get through the group stage, or, like, get through the play-in stage, then the group stage, and then get to the knockout stage. Like, because you sort of take the proportionality of, like, how good the skill is in a given region, and you align that with what would be the most hype. Like, do you want to see the best players on stage, or do you want to see, like, one group of players representing the best and, like, 30 groups representing people who have just started playing or something? Like, Chris made some comment about, like, this is going to be really embarrassing for Japanese players because they're going to get, in his words, taken to the slaughterhouse. Like, they're basically being lined up to be destroyed by people in the finals. And that's not wrong.
Yeah, it certainly seems a little strange, and I wonder if if the Japanese players are thinking about that. I'm assuming they are.
Maybe it's just like, hey, free trip to Tokyo if they live far away or something, and they're just excited
I mean, do you think Konami's, like, actually aware of the skill gap? Like, as much as we are? Like, do you think that they're in that, like, that in tune that they realize that there's such a skill gap between?
I can't imagine they're not aware based on, if you just look at the world records for, like, hard stuff.
Yeah.
Like, someone did the math and was like, there is, at least a long time ago, and this is not true anymore, but, like, there was, I think, one Japanese player that had a world record on anything 15 plus for, like, a little while. Like, it was like the guy went folder by folder, and he was like, number of Japanese players that have a world record, 0. Like, I think, like, Kotetsu had the world record on NGO Expert, which is a 15 for a while.
Fafems has Possession Challenge, right?
Fafems has a couple.
Yeah.
But everything else was either me or Chris.
Yeah.
And it's like, that shows, like, I feel like if you just look at the game for 2 seconds, and maybe that's asking too much of Konami, but I think they're aware and they don't care. That would be, or, like, they have other goals in mind.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, I just don't know how it's going to play out with this, like, even if you are, like, okay in Japan. I want to give context, right? The top 10 last year for KAC was, and the 10th spot got an invite to KAC, was 7 Americans, 2 Japanese, or what was it? It was 5 Americans, 2 Japanese, 2 Korean, 1 Taiwanese or something. I should look at the graphic again, but basically it was like this complete dominance of, like, American players.
I think, like, 6 of the top 9 were US.
Yeah, and so if you think about that, like, someone, you know, basically qualified for KAC with a lower score than a couple Americans who didn't get invites. That is kind of messed up, and it shows, like, that disparity shows on the world stage.
Yeah, well, and like I said earlier, I think, like, we see it as, like, this tournament in the sense that we look at tournaments, like you mentioned League of Legends, like, that's a big tournament, like, or, you know, even the local tournaments, you know, the national local tournaments that we've had here, especially within the group and stuff, like, but like I said, it's an exhibition, basically. Yeah. And maybe it's not a good look for Konami to have a bunch of Americans at their, like, Japanese arcade entertainment expo. Like, somebody mentioned, I think, in our Discord channel, like, the question that was posed to you, that basically, like, it's a business decision. Like, it's not about, like, pleasing Americans, like, which sucks for us, but, like, I mean, I think...
Yeah, we're fixated on DDR.
Yeah, and, like, part of that is true. Like, at the end of the day, Konami's a business, like, and if they think that having a bunch of Japanese players represented at their convention, tournament, exhibition thing, like, if they think that's going to make them more money, like, that's what they're going to do.
That's going back to what Jeff was saying earlier.
But that's not here nor there. Like, I think... my biggest issue with KAC is, like, much less on the Konami side, and it's much more about how it's positioned in everyone's minds, especially stateside, which is that it matters.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that we think of it as, like, the end-all, be-all of tournaments.
Which it's not. Let me clarify that.
Exactly. Like, and I think that's the mistake that people make. Like, is that people see it as a tournament, but it's really not. It's an exhibition in the format of a tournament.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but, like, it's hard to convince other people of that fact. Like, you know, especially in my position where it just sounds like I'm being salty because I didn't win. But it turns out it's really hard to win in the final round with playing 18s and 19s with no warm-up and not getting to pick a song. Yeah. So,
well, on the positive side, it does get everybody very excited about DDR.
Yeah.
And
which is good.
Us talking about this tonight, I feel a lot better about getting hyped for the tournament than I did this morning when I heard the news.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think everybody needs to just, like, put the, like, qualifying and, like, trip to Japan thing, like the number one spot, like, put that out of your mind unless you're, like, in that top, like, 3 or 4. Like, I saw people that, like, not gonna qualify anyway, that they're like, oh, now I'm discouraged. I'm like, sorry, but, like, I mean, you weren't gonna go to Japan anyway, like...
Well,
even
it's
for me,
not the spirit of tournaments.
Exactly. I mean, but, like, even last year, like, I knew I wasn't going to qualify, but, like, I kept looking at the leaderboard, and I was like, oh, I'm only, like, 20 EX score behind this person from Japan. Don't know who they are, but, like, I think the qualifying period is, like, people shouldn't get discouraged just because they're not going to win.
It's not that. People aren't discouraged, from what I'm reading, people aren't discouraged because they're not going to win. It's that the people that they want to support they have no chance. Because, like, it looks like, if I could make a, like, presumption, I think either I or Paul probably will qualify for KSC. And if there were more slots given to Americans, then, like
Spencer or...
Someone like Spencer or, I mean, like, who knows, like, Steven, Sappy, like, other these players who could turn up, right? Like, I was actually talking to Steven, I was like, if there's the wildcard spot, like, you could probably get it. Like, if you grind... He's been playing tons of hard stuff. I'm now disappointed for him.
Yeah, there's lots of people out there, like Luke Swagman.
Yeah, like, Luke is another good example. Like, I think it's a little bit discouraging, not because people are like, oh, I can't enter, or I can't qualify, but more that, like, you know, one of the fun things about KAC last year was getting in a room and supporting your friends that were there, that got to go.
That's true.
And if it's just going to be Chris and Jeff go to Japan again, like... And if it's not going to get any better, where we're going to get more spots in the future, like, that's going to get old after a little while.
Yeah.
And, like, people are going to get discouraged because they literally have no chance. And I think that's the frustrating part for me, coming from a very strong region.
You know, in the spirit of Thank You, Merry Christmas, I think that Japanese people love surprises. So you never know what could happen.
I don't know what that means. Are you saying that Konami's going to, like, change the rules?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they'll say, we're actually going to take a wild card again. And, you know, it could be a surprise. You never know.
Yeah, anything could happen. And also, like, I really hope that the Japanese players kind of step it up.
Yeah, well, speaking of surprises, there could very well be a dark horse, whether it's in America or Japan.
Yeah, I mean, Brosoni's really good. I look forward to seeing him get better. Yeah. And...
I think he's a lock-in, though. There's no...
Yeah, that's true.
He doesn't have to work very hard to get to the final round.
Oh, you don't think
so?
But
there's other people, like Hoshikechi.
I want Hoshikechi to... I mean, I assume, like, of the Japanese players, I think Brosoni, Hoshikechi, Kotetsu, Koji, like, they're... even, like, I don't know, maybe Nachipan will turn up, Tadasuke. Like, there's a bunch of players like that... this might be their motivating factor to get into hard stuff, because classically Japan has not been a fan of hard stuff.
Yeah, we got, like, Genex Yasu. He could play that 17. The new 17, it's not that hard.
Yeah. So maybe this is... Like, I think we don't give Konami enough credit in a lot of ways. I think they know a lot more than we'd like to think that they do. And I think they see the score discrepancies and where players are good in Japan and where they're not. And... You know, I think they're trying to push in a certain direction, and by throwing 14 Japanese players in a tournament, you know, and making them play 17 pluses to get there, maybe that's
interesting.
I think there'd be a lot less pushback if there was at least one wild card for the regions outside of...
Yeah, it sucks that, like, you know, it was... well, I guess, is it the same number, technically, besides the wild card? Because I guess... Asia's getting a slot, and now Korea's getting a slot. And it was the case that Asia and Korea were the same region. So FFEMS is going to take number 1 from Korea easily. And then number 1 from Asia, was number 2 from Asia last year, which was
Gaho. 513.
No, 513.
Yeah.
So it's possible if he's still playing. I don't even know if he's still playing. But he might just take it again. Maybe that's a chance for someone else to come in the mix.
Or Dr. D.
Yeah, it's going to depend on what the next songs are. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of unknowns. This can still be hype. I think it's a little disappointing, and I guess this is a good time to just like go over that question a little bit more in detail when we were just referencing. So this person was sort of just this David B, who posted in the SF Evolve Discord channel. And he said, he's kind of a long post, I'll try to distill it, but basically saying it's a business decision, it doesn't make sense for Konami to send anyone else from outside Japan. It does make sense to allow more local players to add to the event, despite the fact that they won't win. The real fun is just seeing where you stack up. You can't expect a free trip. And I don't think, this is kind of going back, like, I don't think that people are necessarily upset that they're like, oh, I'm not going to get my free trip to Japan. Maybe some people are upset about that. But I think more of it is that disparity that's going to show up, like, could actually backfire. I think that's the worst case scenario for this, where you have 14 Japanese players and everyone gets to see that they can't PFC a 15 or something.
I mean, that's what I felt like watching the Korean...
the Korean, like the Bamani Master Korea.
Yeah, which was kind of different because it was like an overall thing across a lot of music games, but like I just like turned on the stream or whatever and somebody was like failing like a 16 or something. Like basically like there's 4 people and 3 of them didn't even like 900k this song.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is like a big tournament. Like
it's kind of cringy at a certain point.
Yeah, it's just like, it's not good to watch. Like if you're trying to exhibit like the best players, like you should have more Americans, which is the case that a lot of people are making, you know, from our perspective of like, if this is supposed to be the best talent, you should have more Americans.
Exactly.
I mean, I wonder though, because aside from the top 10 people who were in the qualifying list last year, the people who were below that, there were a lot of Japanese people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's quite the same situation like you described in the Korean Bimani Master Tournament.
It's definitely
where,
not the same. Yeah.
You know, there's Japanese people. I walk into an arcade in Tokyo and you see people PFCing 15s.
No, yeah,
right?
no, I see scores on Twitter of people getting really good scores from Japan. I'm like, I have no idea who this person is, but they're better than me. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah, I think, but it is
maybe
also
not a consistent.
Yeah, it's a different thing to be up there with no warm up. I mean, if it's the same as last year, there's no warm-ups, there's no testing out the machines except very early in the morning, just like once, you get like a song. And there's pressure from being on a huge stage. Like, I don't know. I'm just nervous for these Japanese players. I would love if more Japanese players get involved. Like if this is the sacrifice that we have to make as US players to get a whole country interested in the game, then fine, we can take the hit. We're already interested in the game. That's why we're having this discussion right now.
America has the momentum already.
Yeah.
So if it takes that to reverse the tide.
The more interested they are, the more likely Konami is to make the game better.
Exactly.
It's their only hope, really.
So if that's the hill we need to die on, then let's do it. But if it backfires by all these, you know, it's like getting taken to the slaughterhouse, where all these players are like thinking that they're really good because they got to the final round, and then they just get slaughtered. Then I hope that doesn't like turn off a bunch of players from being like, we're just so far behind. Like, why are we even here?
Yeah.
I can imagine that being like the feeling, because it's such a time constrained thing. Like, you know, if you're like kind of in the middle of the pack in a typical tournament, you kind of get weeded out like in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. This is like, if you're kind of middle of the pack, you might just get to the final round with me and Chris and Fefems. Like, is that a good experience? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, because other than, like, Brosoni, like, there's not really anybody else in Japan that's at that level, I don't think.
I think Hoshikechi is probably...
He's getting there.
On hard... Or he's been playing hard stuff.
He has, like, a good clear lamp on the 19 folder, which is more than I can say.
That's true.
But his MA is not as stellar. Anyway.
So, moving on a bit, do you have any predictions for Group B?
I think it's going to be a gimmicky set.
Think so?
I don't know. I think it's going to be 17 pluses.
We'll see Endymion Challenge, maybe?
No, God, no.
Not that hard.
It's the qualifier, after all. But I think it's going to be something... it's going to be gimmicky songs.
I bet it's a 17 to 18s.
I would agree. And I think it's going to be... I'm going to make the bold prediction of Neutrino and Cozy Catastrophe.
Really?
As the two... Because those are both pretty gimmicky.
Yeah,
I would love...
That's what I was thinking.
People were expecting those or Come to Life.
I'm hoping for Come to Life, but Come to Life would fit more in this set.
Exactly.
Because it's easy.
But wouldn't that be a pop as hell set, though?
I would. I'm fine playing that over and over again.
That's set of the year, man.
Set of the year. Forget about set of the week.
Yeah.
Saudi.
Saudi.
I don't know. I don't know what the 7-2 would be, but probably something old and shitty, like London Evolved C. Great. Cool. Can't wait to grind that for 30 years.
Do we want to start taking some questions?
Yeah, we got a lot.
Dalton has a list.
No, I have a list of set of the week.
Why don't we do that, and then we'll look up some questions.
All right. So we'll start with set of the week.
Yeah. So the songs last week were Moonster, something in Japanese.
Asaido no Kami Hikoki.
Yes. Oh, that was mine.
Yes, that was yours.
Yeah.
Koen.
And Colin.
And we had a lot of people. It's a new record of, I think, 11 people here. We had jburk6. These are all Twitter handles, so you can look up these people. At jburk16, at tripping contact with a 0 as an O, at Fraxtol, Astroferus, Alexor, Phenomenal Ta, Jeff Rose Sledger, Tung Jun Yantham, sorry, a 40 ounce for breakfast, which is a very good Twitter name, and not Alex Andrade and Zanzibar. So those were all the people who submitted their scores. Thank you so much for playing.
Yeah, a lot of good scores.
Yeah, nice job, everyone.
Yeah, it was great. People were saying, oh, I PFC'd this, or, people discovering, that's the whole point of this, people discovering songs that they might not have otherwise known. So I think
Moonster's the sleeper hit of that set.
Yeah. I think most people agreed.
Sleeper hit.
It's a really good song. It feels weird in DDR, but it's quirky enough that it works.
I prefer Moon, personally.
Oh,
me too.
I like Moonster. We got some questions. So,
wait, we gotta do our current set of the week.
Okay, fine.
We were talking about last week's.
Okay, I thought that was going to be a little teaser, and then we get some questions.
No, let's do it right now.
Okay.
Hopefully, people will listen till the end anyway.
Okay.
Roger, you want to go first?
Yeah, my selection is Tribe. I don't actually remember which version it's from.
X3.
X3, and it's kind of like a Japanese jazzy kind of interesting song by Nekomata Master, and it's a little late.
A little late.
So it's pretty late. Just before you play it, keep that in mind so you score better. And it's got a lot of interesting rhythms. It's like in swing time, and there's some really quick like kind of.
Well, you're talking about the challenge?
In challenge,
yeah. But the experts also. So the challenge came in DDR 2014. They backfilled a bunch of challenge charts. There's like an Oni no attack event. Mm-hmm. They added some challenge charts to old songs. And so Tribe was in X3, but got a challenge start in 2014, and it's a 13, which is pretty technical, and got that swing gallopy thing going on.
So my pick of the week is Illegal Function Call, which is a pretty tricky 16 on Expert, but it's also a 13 on Difficult, it's actually a very fun chart on
difficult. Yeah, it's an unlock though. So
it is an unlock,
so
yeah.
Make sure you
but
have it unlocked.
it's a pretty old one, so I think hopefully most of you have it by now. I know you guys are our loyal DDR players. It's got some weird BPM changes, and it's very fast.
So the song title is Cyber. The background video is Cyber.
Song titles, yeah.
That's another one of those songs that you're like, when is this gonna end? It's long. It's like over 2 minutes long.
It also hurts, is what I describe it. But it's very cyber. It's one of those songs with a special background. I forgot about that.
So why did you pick this song in particular?
Because this song and Cytokinesis, I was kind of thinking about both of these songs. It seems like everybody hates these songs, but they're good, actually. My response. Maybe Cytokinesis might be next week's set of the week.
Ooh.
Just a little.
Just don't tease us too much.
I need to get back and play that.
Yeah, people kind of ignored it.
I never PFC'd it actually.
No, neither did I.
I have like 40 perfects on it. It's really embarrassing.
That should be the KAC qualifier.
I don't want to confuse anybody. Cytokinesis is not in the set of the week.
It's Cytokinesis and 2 18s.
Yeah, that's next.
That would own me. I'd get like fewer perfects on Come to Life and Neutrino or something than I would on fucking Cytokinesis.
Oh man, Cytokinesis, if they added a challenge chart, that would be...
So what's the third song?
So Tribe, Illegal Function Call.
And EDM Jumpers.
EDM Jumpers.
Which may be, well, I guess with illegal function calls, like, we don't pick Ace songs very much.
That's true, yeah. 2 Ace songs.
Someone pointed out that, like, every set of the week could have been done on older machines.
It's
like
true.
on 2014 machine.
Well, we want to dig through the crates, as it were.
Yeah. But I think EDM Jumpers is a song with quite a few gimmicks. And for some reason, I think people sleep on it. I think it's a great...
It's really good.
It's a really, really good chart, a really good song. There's one slowdown that always trips people up.
Yeah, I remember you and I arguing about it one time, because...
Was I saying it's good, actually?
No, I was saying, like, it's actually ba-ba, and then you said, no, it's ba-ba. And I remember, like, listening
That's like 90% of DDR conversations, by the way, can be summed up in what just happened.
I just step, and then I wait way too long for the next one.
That's the key, yeah. So it has one part where it's the second time it slows down, I think.
No, that slows down a million times before that.
Okay, so maybe it's the last time it slows down. It's the really tricky one. And so just hit that note way later than you think it is.
Or you can just listen to the song a million times and then follow the lyrics. Exactly. And that's... it happens on the lyrics, so if you know the song really well, you'll play the
So to
song really
recap, the songs are Tribe, Illegal Function Call, and EDM Jumpers.
Yes. And EDM Jumpers is in Japanese. It's EDM Jumpers.
It's the one that goes da 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 da.
We're gonna have
the graphic as usual.
Yeah.
You guys know.
Okay.
It's a great song.
So yes, play that, tweet at us, send us your scores.
Hashtag Tap Set of the Week.
Hashtag Tap Set of the Week, which will now have your name in the picture.
Oh,
yes, which is great.
Yeah. Moving on to questions. Zanzibar had actually asked this a couple times, but it's especially relevant now. Is there any pressure to keep the DDR title in America? What would keeping it here say to Konami?
Big ol' F you. No, I mean, it's really hard, like, I don't know, that question is hard to answer because it's like pressure from, like, that seems like it needs to be directed at Chris. Like, does he feel a need to, like, hold on to the title again? I think if anyone else that's new takes it, it would be interesting and cool. But if another American does win, then I think, that's really saying something about, I think even more so than if Chris won again, if a different American won, it would be like, Konami's like, okay, these guys are like way, way better than everyone in our country. And maybe that's, like we said, like, is it the case that Chris winning had something to do with the fact that, like, Japanese players are now being invited by the dozens to, enter KAC? Like, is it that this disparity is causing Konami to take a look and be like, we need to get the competitive scene in Japan the same way it is in other countries?
I hope so.
Maybe. So, like, it depends on, we kind of have been touching on this, but it's a good or bad thing depending on how you look at it. Like, it could be a good thing if a whole country gets excited, but it can also be, like, the thing that is motivating is also the thing that's demotivating for others. And there's a very fine line that you cross sometimes between, like, encouragement and, well, there's no reason for me to even try.
Yeah.
You need to be able to see where you could be, but realize that you could get there. Not see where someone else is and be like, I could never get there.
Is that how you feel with speedrunning right now?
Kind of. Like, there are a lot of parallels. I would love to. I mean, if you ever want to talk about speedrunning, I'm speedrunning Mario Odyssey right now. It's amazing. It's a great experience. And
if anybody's been following you on Twitter, they're well aware.
Yes, thank you.
But you've never done speedrunning before, aside from DDR. But
we won't talk about that.
Yeah, but I mean, so how is it, like, looking at the people who have been doing it for 10 years? Like, do you feel like you can catch up to them?
Well, the thing is with speedrunning that's really interesting is, like, I'm speedrunning Odyssey, which is a brand new game. I'm already way behind. Like, people already have scores that are like it would be one thing if they've been playing the game for years and it's like, oh, that's why they're so good. But they literally, like, in the first week had a time that's better than things that I've been able to do and practice on in 3 or 4 weeks. It's kind of interesting. Trying not to let that demotivate me. Trying to still stay sane when I'm playing. But, like, they're like 4 minutes better than, like, 5 minutes better than me. I'm like, how is this even possible?
Do you think you're going to be able to take any of that back to DDR?
I don't know. I'm already kind of at the top with DDR, and I've been playing for so long.
That's true.
It's hard for me to be like...
There's still some 19s work to do.
Yeah, there is. But I think
That's a nice way of putting that, Roger.
the playing field is so, like, everyone's bad at 19s.
Well, yeah.
It's like, it's so much, speedrunning is so much different. But there are parallels, but it's still way different being a very good DDR player versus someone who's, like, trying to break into a brand new community and a brand new game.
I feel like with speedrunning, too, it's like, at least for normal people, speedrunning, you're kind of competing with everybody online, and you're not really competing with anybody locally, but with DDR has the special case of wanting to be the best at your local arcade, which is much more attainable, I think, than trying to be the best on the internet.
Yeah. Some people like do the regional things. Like, I know people in Odyssey, basically the best players are either Finnish or Japanese. So, you know, like, it's really funny that, like, people are like, you know, Finland top 2 always is just like, our Finnish overlords. Like, people just, like, talking, like, that's the joke for them. But it's almost the same thing, like, the national pride, but coming from a different... Or, like the pride of, like, locality, but on a different scale.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
And on that note, too, I think with going back to the question that was asked, I think it's going to be really interesting next year when supposedly Australia and Europe start getting DDR Ace, too. Because hopefully they'll see America as, like, a beam of hope for, you know, becoming, like, being the best and taking on the Japanese. So you never know. We might have, like, the best person in the world might be Australian.
Possible.
You never know.
So, next question. Touched on this a few times, but kind of an interesting perspective. Alex Andrade asks, what's the best single piece of advice you have for improving MA? And specifically, is it generally better to hone it far below your regular play level?
Jeff is basking.
Well, okay, so I did say this a couple of times ago. Like, my single advice is play everything. Which is, I made sure to say that 3 times last episode, the episode before, so I wouldn't have to say it again, but here I am saying it again. But specifically, I think the more interesting thing, like, you should play every song, just do that. The more interesting thing is the second part, which is the age-old question of, like, should you be practicing MA on easier difficulty songs than what you can do? The answer is maybe.
I'd say no. I think you and I have both found this.
Pointing to Roger, yeah. Me and Roger both found that in trying to improve MA, going back and playing like 10s and stuff is actually not helping.
Well, I don't know. I think it really depends on what you mean by, like, the songs that you can do. Like, are you saying, like, if you considered being able to do a song, passing the song, and still getting a bunch of misses and non-combos and stuff, like, you probably don't want to, like, you can't even think about accuracy as much playing a song like that versus a song where you know you're going to combo it. Like, it's way easier to think about timing when you know you're going to be able to do the whole thing and you can devote brain power to actually thinking about timing. Right now, I'm finding that I'm not getting a whole lot out of playing easier songs, but that's just because, like, I'm already pretty good at them. So I don't know.
I was like, it does depend on where you're at and stuff, but, like, I've never if it makes anyone, I don't know if this makes anyone feel better or if it, like, changes people's perspective, but I've never been like, oh, I should focus on lower songs to improve my timing. I just, in playing everything, like, you play hard stuff and then you play easy stuff. Mm-hmm. You play a 10-footer and then you play a 15-footer. Just doing that gives you that mix that you need. Like, I think if you just try, like, if you're so focused, like, I can only play 10s to improve my MA, then, like, you're, like, sort of setting yourself up for failure because you're not going to learn how to MA hard stuff. Yeah. And if you only play hard stuff, you're not going to really get into that, like, zone where you're MAing everything and every step has to be perfect or marvelous, or else, like, you get a worse score. Like, you need to do it all?
Yeah,
like,
you need to examine what you're doing most of the time when you're playing. Like, if your attitude when you're playing most of the time is,
okay, I'm going to focus on MA.
I'm going to focus on MA, which is, like, when I'm playing, I'm like, get as much Marvelous as possible all the time on every single song I'm playing. And that's what you should honestly be doing.
Yeah, because it's easy to fall into that trap of, like, okay, I'm going to play for fun, I'm going to play the songs that I like, and then, on the third song, I'm going to pick a 10 and really focus on MA. It's like, you should always focus on MA.
Yeah, I mean, having focus is good. It's just, like, I think the more you worry about it, in a sense, like, it's just something that comes with practice, and
it's true.
But it's deliberate practice that will get you there.
That's right.
And so, like, your MA, you should get better at MA over time without thinking about necessarily getting better in MA. It's kind of like a weird catch-22 thing. Like, the more you think about it, in my opinion, the worse it can get, because you're focusing so much on one specific thing and not getting holistically good.
Yeah.
And that's just a trap, in my opinion. But it's very, very complex. I'm going to try to elaborate offline if anyone's confused.
All right.
There was kind of a discussion of this in the DDR players group, but Jess asks, what's the best way to deal with rude spectators during a DDR session? Like people recording without permission, Jeff's favorite.
My favorite.
Being rude with words, other annoying stuff.
Yeah, there's not really much you can do about that. I think the best thing is practice your Zen meditation and learn to block out external...
Now, what if you're meditating and the arcade security guard comes by and tells you that you can't, meditate there?
It was the mall security guard, actually.
Yeah, sorry, the mall, right, Roger?
Yeah, the mall security guards came up to me while I was meditating outside of round 1. They're just like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm just like, I'm meditating. It's probably the first time that's ever happened at that mall. But I would say, to add a special caveat here, like, Jess is a girl, and I think for dudes, it's easy to say, oh yeah, just ignore everything. It doesn't really matter. But with girls, like, maybe some of these people who are recording them are, like, actually being creepy or something. Mm-hmm. And, like, if people are being creepy, tell the security guards or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's their job. Yeah. But I think that aside from that, it really just is about trying to block out the distractions. And maybe some people are just watching because they think it's cool.
And next year, when you're on the stage at KAC, there's going to be a ton of distractions.
It's not distractions. It's people being rude specifically.
Yeah,
like is the question.
But it's kind of the same thing, really.
No,
it can be. The problem there's two different things at play here. There's dealing with people with things that that are distracting you from the game, which can be loud noises next to you. It could be hockey pucks. It could be someone like on the pad shadowing you and trying to taunt you. Mm-hmm. They're slightly different though, because there's a way that you can, like, there's a certain line people are crossing when they're doing something that's clearly wrong.
Yeah, well, like, it's intentional versus unintentional. Like, if people are playing a game next to you and they're, like, cheering, like, you can't tell them, like, hey, stop having fun.
Yeah.
Like, that's annoying and distracting. But, like, if somebody is, like, up on the pad, like, mocking you, like, that's something that is intentionally messing with you.
That's a good point.
And that is the point where you can say, hey, can you not do that?
I think the best thing, kill them with kindness.
Yeah.
You get done with your song, you don't let the taunting get to you. When you're done, you turn to them and say, hey, just, like, I'm trying to, focus really hard right now. Is it okay if you can do that behind me? Or do you mind not doing that right now? Like, really appreciate it. Like, sorry, I really love this game and I'm taking it really seriously. I know, that's nerdy or whatever, but, like, I'm just, I'm trying my best here. And, if they want to rise out of you. They want you to get so mad so they can laugh at you later. If suddenly you ask them for a very politely to just be like, "Hey, do you mind not doing that?" Mm-hmm. They might be like,
"Oh, this isn't worth it."
Or they're like, "Okay." Mm-hmm. Like, they get so confused because they never expected you to react in a positive way.
Yeah. Well, and then there's just drunk idiots who don't respond to anything.
Typically, even drunk idiots are like, "Okay," and they're like they may get in your face, and then those people are going to get in your face. I know, Dalton. You have a...
We've all
No. I had a very bad experience at Dave & Buster's once where a guy got up on the pad, and, like, I was playing a song, and I politely... I was like, hey, can you get off? Hey, and, like, I'm in the middle of the song, like, I'm like, hey, and he just keeps, like, talking to me and, like, being an idiot and stuff generally, and, like, I got very angry. Like, I literally yelled at him.
Right.
And like,
how did that work out for you?
Not great, but, like, that's what I'm saying is, like, politeness doesn't always work.
It doesn't, but it's a great start.
Yeah, you should definitely
and that's what I'm saying is, like...
Definitely try to keep your cool.
There's gonna be...
Stay cool.
There's gonna be idiots.
That is the golden rule.
At that point, like, I went and got security, and I was like, hey, these guys are being drunk assholes, and they went and, chased them off. Like... Sometimes you gotta do that. I don't know. I have very little tolerance for that kind of thing. But yes, initially try to be patient and calm and polite.
Yeah. I've seen the kindness thing work very well most of the time. So do that the first time.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Here's kind of a fun one. I don't know if anybody actually will have an answer off the top of your head, but do you have any particular sets of fun sets of songs that you like to play together, like all soda songs,
June songs,
June songs,
or like a set of all like extra stage songs, or like the extra exclusive sort of thematic sets?
I picked June sets. I've done that before.
Me too.
Other than that, I don't think I've thought about. My song picks are very I'm a very competitive person, so I'm really just what do I want to work on? What's going to maximize my happiness by getting me a cool score that I like?
Yeah.
And not so much I just played a song that had a fire in the title, so let me try another song that has fire.
Although sometimes that happens inadvertently, just being reminded of things. You play Fire, and maybe you think of
hot stuff
and Rising Firehawk.
Rising Firehawk. Yeah. Actually, the funny thing is, the first thing that came to mind was Pump It Up. I'll often play Banya sets, because the Banya songs are pretty good. And they're classics, too. They're OBGs, if you will. For DDR, though, I don't know. I've done, classical songs like V and A, I guess, if you consider that a classical song. Those are both letters, also.
I think all the songs that have letters in them.
And double A.
Oh, yeah, A.
All the songs that have letters in them.
Yeah, what's a song? What's another song?
You mean all of them?
That's the joke.
Okay, A, V. Is there another song that just has one letter?
No.
Oh,
I mean, if you think of
double A doesn't count.
9 being a Roman numeral sort of
IX.
That counts.
That counts. Okay,
if anything counts, that counts.
Yeah.
There's
everything counts.
VA. Is A even on Ace anymore?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah,
it is.
Extreme
I just haven't played that in a long time.
You haven't been around enough people at Dave & Buster's Daily City to hear A being played all the time.
A and Dyke and Kai and
oh, maybe a classics set, something from the Extreme folder.
Yeah, just go to the arcade, play A, Dyke and Kai, and I don't know, what's something else
Abyss?
People do? V.
Yeah. Well, V wasn't very popular.
Really? V was V was one of those songs people played at our arcade.
Yeah, all the time. It's a staple.
It's a staple.
I feel like.
Staple song.
Probably even more so than A, I would say. Anyway.
We're all out of questions?
We got more, but we're
running out of time.
We're running out of time, yeah.
We had a lot to say about KAC.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening, and
thank you for playing.